You know the big banks, right? But what if I told you one of India's most powerful financial empires wasn't built on loans, but on stock tips? Yeah. Today, we're going to unpack the incredible story of how Motilal Oswal Financial Services went from being just another brokerage to a full-blown financial giant. So let's kick things off with a number that tells you a lot. 2016 crore rupees. That is the insane, record-breaking profit Motilal Oswal pulled in for 2025. But that number, it doesn't even tell half the story. This isn't just about one good year. It's about a complete reinvention from the ground up. So here's the big question we're tackling today. How does a company that was basically at the mercy of the market's every mood swing build an empire that can weather any storm? Well, I'll tell you, it wasn't luck. It was a brilliant, deliberate, strategic pivot. And we are about to break it all down. Right, so this didn't just happen by accident. This was a calculated move, a complete reimagining of what the company could be. We're going to see exactly how they went from being a stockbroker to the financial conglomerate they are today. But to really get how huge this change was, we've got to jump in a time machine. We're setting the dial to 2015, because the Motilal Oswal you're about to meet is a very, very different company. You know, what's so fascinating is that even back then, sharp investors on forums like Value Picker were seeing something special. They weren't just looking at the spreadsheets. They saw the people behind the company. This trust in the founder's integrity and competence, that was the real foundation for everything that came next. Okay, take a look at this. This chart basically shows you the company's biggest weakness back in 2015. Imagine a ship with this enormous sail, but a teeny tiny rudder. That was them. 67% of their entire revenue was tied to the wild, unpredictable swings of the stock market. Talk about a recipe for a bumpy ride. So, to put it simply, their fate wasn't really in their own hands. It was in the hands of the market. And for a company with their kind of ambition, that was a risk they just couldn't live with. They knew they had to build a business that could thrive, not just survive, no matter what the market was doing. And this is where the story gets really good. This is the turning point. Faced with this huge vulnerability, the leadership didn't just try to adjust the sails. Nope, they decided to build a whole new ship. This was the start of their great diversification. And check this out. This wasn't some hush-hush plan. The chairman himself was out there telling everyone what was happening. He's literally saying, hey, that brokerage business you all know us for, we're actively shrinking its importance. This was a public declaration that a new era had begun. So what was the actual game plan? Well, it was a four-pronged attack. They didn't just build one new engine. They built four of them. They launched a housing finance company. They massively scaled up their asset management. They built a wealth management powerhouse. And they grew their own investment arm. This was a full-on campaign to conquer new ground. And the results, they were immediate and they were explosive. Just look at this timeline. In a few short years, they went from a single-engine plane to a four-engine jet. I mean, the housing finance loan book growing from $5.6 billion to $25 billion? That's not just growth. That's a quantum leap. The strategy was an absolute runaway success. Okay, so let's fast forward to today. Those four little seeds they planted have grown into giant trees. These are the four engines that are now powering the modern Motilal Oswal. Let's see just how well that big bet paid off. All right, first up, wealth management. In just 4 years, they went from 20 lakh clients to almost 50 lakh. That's more than double. And this wasn't just a slow trickle of new customers. This was a strategic land grab, fueled by smart expansion. And all those new clients, they were bringing in serious cash. We're talking nearly 800 crore in profit from this one division alone. This is the proof right here that the strategy wasn't just about getting bigger. It was about getting a lot more profitable.
Next up, engine number 2, asset management. They didn't just grow their assets under management, they absolutely supercharged them. A 72% jump in a single year is incredible. That brings their total to over 1 lakh crore. And they did it by just being really, really good at managing money.
And hey, remember that housing finance company they built from scratch? Well, it's now a monster in its own right, lending out almost 1,800 crore. It's just a powerful reminder that these guys know how to build successful businesses, literally from the ground up. And finally, we have what might be the secret sauce to the whole thing, the treasury. This is basically the company's own war chest, a massive pile of cash, over 7,700 crore, that they use to fund all their other businesses. It's the ultimate competitive advantage because it means they never have to go ask anyone else for money. They fuel their own growth.
So there's no doubt the transformation has been a massive success. But in business, the game never stops. So what's next? Let's take a look at the road ahead, the opportunities, and of course, the potential roadblocks.
On one hand, you've got some serious tailwinds. The digital revolution is in their favor, they're expanding geographically, and more Indians have more wealth to invest than ever before. But on the other side, you have the headwinds. The market's always going to be volatile. They've got a ton of fierce fintech competitors, and you never know when a new regulation might change the game.
So what does the market think of all this? Well, this table is kind of like their report card, and they are acing every subject. They're outperforming the rest of the sector on profitability, on growth, on pretty much every key metric. And that right there is why investors are willing to pay a premium for this stock. They see a company that isn't just bigger, it's flat out better.
Okay, so as we wrap up this incredible story, what's the one big thing, the main takeaway from this whole reinvention? For me, it's this. Just let this sink in for a second. This entire empire was built without raising a single rupee of capital from the public since their IPO way back in 2007. In fact, they gave money back to shareholders through buybacks and dividends, all while funding this massive growth with their own profits. That's just the definition of financial discipline. And you can be sure they are not sitting back and relaxing. The chairman has this 4T strategy: towers, technology, talent, and training. It's a peek into their next chapter. They're investing in the infrastructure and the people to dominate for another decade. The reinvention, it seems, never really stops. Which brings us to our final question. They've pulled off one of the most impressive business transformations you'll ever see. But in a world that's changing faster than ever, what will the next reinvention need to be? That is the billion-dollar question that will define their future.